Samsung Galaxy S3. Designed for humans.
Before you fail. Today I'm going to discuss qualitative I'm trying to explain what it is. And what we'll try to cover is some of the different types of methods that are used in research. And then the principles of collecting data. Now if there is time, we will go ahead and do that. Now what I'm going to talk about is not it's not exhaustive in the test that I have. That's why I'm giving you this link. You can find this one to read more about it. Otherwise, you can also use Google to look for the different methods I discussed. Now to start off, it is better to understand the difference between quantitative and quantitative research. Quantitative research, which I think you have seen by now, usually focuses on hypotheses or questions which are derived from a theory or previous research. So they usually follow a research plan. And the research plan will spell out what they are supposed to do. So when I'm realizing that in the quantitative research, there's always a hypothesis or research questions which are rated framework of how to do the research. They like to also focus on a sample representative which is drawn from the population. So to start off, I was trying to explain quantitative research and the difference between quantitative research and qualitative research. I was saying that quantitative research usually begins with a specific hypothesis, or a hypothesis usually tells you the relationship between two or more variables. So like class attendance has an influence on the performance in the particular course that you do. So that could be attendance is one of the variables, and then your final grade is a measure for measuring their performance. So that is a hypothesis. Look at the relationship between two variables in this case. Then later on I'll explain hypothesis between two. Now you're supposed to do that in the quantitative class. Then it also usually starts from selecting a sample from a given population. We'll do something later, in which the sample is a representative of the population. You cannot be able to interview the whole population. It's about 2,000. So you select a sample that is representative of the population, or representing the population in a manner that can help you answer the research question. Then it also uses objective instruments like first choice questionnaires or liking skills that has attitude skills like I strongly agree, disagree, those kind of skills. Or it may have a first choice questionnaire. Which of these towns do you live in? Solomon, Sweden, Accra, they choose from it. Then they like to present their results using statistics so that you make inferences from the statistics. So that's one thing that you see about quantitative research. And then with the quantitative research, we usually say that there's a distance between the researcher and then the subjects. Why do we say that? When you come and have a questionnaire and a quantitative research, you want to do a survey, you can come and drop in this class and then go and see somewhere. So you, the researcher, doesn't have much interaction with the subjects that you're trying to get information, or your respondents, you're trying to get information from them. So we say there's a distance between the researcher and then the subjects. And because they use a fixed choice questionnaire, they select a sample representative and they stick to a hypothesis. To be able to do that, they always try to follow the research plan, what they set out for the trying to do. They don't like going back to change things, which is the flexibility you see in qualitative research. Qualitative research like to start from general research problems and then formulate and they don't like formulating hypotheses, but like to have a general problem and a question and they use it to start. So how does something occur? How do managers influence employee motivation? So that is the how. You want to understand the process. Hence, they select a small purposive sample, not a random sample. They select a purposive sample that can help them answer the question. For example, if they want to do a study on what the meanings people have concerning their mobile phones, they look for people who have mobile phones. They will not look for people who don't have mobile phones. So they select a purposive sample, purposely selecting sample or respondents that can help you answer the research question that you have focused on. Then they also do something like they focus on unstructured instruments, interviews, observations, things that enable you to interact with the respondent. Well, the other one is much more fish choice instruments. This is much more unstructured instruments, and they look for intent data collection. So they spend time with the subjects and they collect data with them. Hence, you can say that with the qualitative research, the researcher's biases and opinions influence the research because he's going to spend time with them to observe. So what he sees is what he's going to report. He takes full notes. So the researcher is not distant from the respondent. He's closer to the respondent. And also, we are not looking for statistical generalization here. We are looking for how to be able to explain what we have seen. So if you look at it very well, qualitative research likes to focus on the how and why questions. How and why questions. Because how it talks about the process, and you cannot use a quantitative estimate to look for a process. A process means that the story has to be told. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. It has to be studied over time. Hence, you need to sit down and then listen to the people tell you how they came to live in this particular community and how the community has influenced their lives. So qualitative research is more about explanation, and there's less emphasis on generalization to the greater population. It's much more about how we can explain what we are trying to say. So let's look at it. Qualitative research draws on interviews, documents, and observation in order to understand and explain social phenomena. We want to look at the reputation of the phenomenon or the phenomena in the natural settings to make sense of the terms, in terms of what the meanings people bring to them, what you are trying to study. For example, one of the key things that you need to know about qualitative research is that they like to tell you that the natural settings of the people that you are interviewing can even influence their views concerning what you are trying to study. Let's give a very simple scenario. If I wanted to do an interview and of people who hawkers, the ones used to be called kaya in the market, and I go and look for a hawker in the market, and I'm trying to interview the hawker, and at the same time AMA, the task force is coming. What do you think will happen? She ran away. So even the answer she may give you, she may be in a hurry to tell you, and may not be what you were looking for. Another time, if I take that same hawker or kaya to moving pick hotel, let us sleep there for one day. Take your time, relax, get some massages, and the next morning I come and do my interview. What do you think will happen? She may even drag the interview so that she can stay there for more days. I hope you understand me. By the time I realize, maybe she will bring more friends to come and join the whole thing. It happens. So sometimes in qualitative research, we always emphasize that the natural settings of the people can influence the research. Where you do the research, where the environment in which you do the interview, and even where the people live can even influence their meanings to what they contribute to. Now, there are different types of qualitative research. Now, some of the ones I will discuss for this particular program is the case study, ethnography, action research, knowledge theory, and quality analysis. In fact, to tell you the truth, there are other ones that are narrative research and then phenomenology. But these ones are quite good for the MPhil students, so we are not going to draw into those ones today. What we want to draw into is case study, ethnography, and then the rest they are here. Now, how does it look like? Case study is a research that looks into a bounded system, a place that has some boundary. So it looks into a context that defines a boundary. So you can have a case of an organization or a case of a project. Like you are trying to say you want to do causing financial loss to this the Walloway case. So you are looking at it as it has a boundary. All the things that has to do with the case is what you're going to look into. Now, it can either be a multiple or a single case. And then it involves detailed collection from multiple sources. You can't interview one person in the case study. You have to do multiple sources. So you can be able to understand and get what they are trying to tell you very well. Now, a case study research draws on the how, the process. It can be applied to both qualitative and quantitative types of research. But in quantitative, you see more of figures in the case. They'll describe the institution or the organization more about figures, how much they earn, the number of employees. So you see more quantitative data in it. But in the qualitative research, a case study which tries to tell a story. So you see more of textual text information, people's comments and quotes. You cannot do a case study without asking quotes in its statements from people, because you are trying to express the meanings people have concerning a phenomenon. So you need to be able to express them. And with case study too, you can use it to either understand an issue or to provide input to an existing theory or new theoretical concepts. Now it can either be a single or multiple, and this is a single case study. Now before the case study is written, you can have two key parts. The part that gives you the context and the part that explains the issue that you're trying to study. So this study is on mobiles and micro trading activities in Ghana. The first part looks at introduction and Jacosia. So if you look at the first 5 lines, do you realize that the first 5 lines try to give us a background of the person, the context of the person, the school that she, her educational background, the type of business she does, how long has she owned a mobile phone. Now this information is given at the contextual perspective, so that when I start discussing the issue of what she uses a mobile phone for, you can have a good understanding. So usually in the case, it gives a context, remember the natural settings, explains it, then it goes to focus on the issue. It is not good for you to be in the case that you just jump into the issue. You give us a bit of a background so that we can understand who the person is. Because those things can inform. If you were reading this from here to here, and you didn't know the age, the educational level, it can even distort your understanding concerning that person. For example, if you read a full case study, she talked about the fact that what the mobile phone has done for her, and then some of the benefits she has gained from it. Now, you realize that the level of education too can either tell you whether she will be doing text messaging or more, or be doing voice call. How do you expect a person who is not literate to be doing text messaging? So now we are giving a background that she even has high school level of education. So to some extent, if she talks about text messaging, you can understand and appreciate it. So we give a context, then we move to what? The issue we want to study. So we can have a single case study and a multiple case study. A single case study enables us to get an understanding of a particular event. Explore that particular event very, very well. And it can also help us to be able to gain wisdom, gain knowledge on what are the unique characteristics of that event. So somebody has a topic like a failure or success of a particular event, causing financial loss to the state, lessons from the whatever case. However, in a multiple case design, you want to be able to do a comparative analysis. So you want to be able to compare one to another set of cases so that you can enhance your explanation. So you realize that one case may not be sufficient to help you to do the understanding something, so you want to compare. Hence, you do a multiple case. So I can do a case like that, causing financial loss to the state, lessons from the construction industry. So I look at different cases in the construction industry in which there have been financial loss and compare why they are. Do you see the difference? So one of them, multiple case analysis, enables you to do a comparative analysis. Now, in a single case, a single case can become what we call an intrinsic case study because of its uniqueness or unusual contribution. There's something so particular about that case that it draws you in and you want to focus on only that one. Good. So a person may have been exploring lessons from a particular project, effective management of public sector projects, lessons from the GCNet system in Ghana. And it's because the meaning comes from learning about the unusual situation, the intrinsic case. So as I mentioned, usually the case study begins with the how, and leads to the what, to the why, the where, the what. Somebody can even say the who, the how, the why, the where, the what. And it has an individual. It can either be individual or group. Individual means that they look at individual person. who you are collecting the case from. So you are building cases around students and their experiences in the development finance program. So each student is one case for you. So you build the student's story about one. Now in the market woman, you see that we're building each market woman as one enterprise. Now, then you have to find a way of analyzing the data, whether you link the data together internally and then cross. Let me explain it. To analyze your data, you can either do a holistic analysis or an embedded analysis. An embedded analysis, you take one case, you give us the background, like you saw that you give us the background. Then you take focus on the issues within the case. So like compare the issues. For example, if you want to study the impact of managerial capabilities on a manufacturing firm. So you give us a background of manufacturing firm, then you take specific times that you saw the manager doing some unique things that showed his capability. So in 1992, he bought a new building for the office. 1995, he expanded to beyond Accra. 1996, he did something. So you are looking at different things, that different types of different periods in which the person exhibited some unique skill to show that he is that manager. So we are looking at the issues within the case. It's embedded within the case. So it's one case study, but there are specific times that the man demonstrated that he's innovative. Maybe we are looking at innovation. So in what different times in the managers, in the firm's life, the firm's period of operation since 1988 to 2012, that you can see examples of innovation from the manager. So it's embedded, but you're looking at the different issues that came up within the particular case study. Then another time, we can also do a study in which you are doing what we call a holistic analysis. Holistic analysis, you first of all want to take the case and look for the key things in the case and then compare it across. Compare it across. So it means that you are looking at a multiple case in this way. But you start from one case, look at the key issues within that case, and then compare it across the other cases. So you have within case analysis and then cross case analysis. So you start one case. Then you find the key things in that case. Like unemployment, we're trying to study unemployment in a particular set of companies, maybe 3 companies. So you want to realize that what are the issues that led to unemployment or employee retrenchment or employees resignation. So you take one case, you describe the scenario. Maybe the manager didn't talk to the employee very well, so you describe the story. Then you compare. If you found three key things that happened in that case, you compare it with the other cases. So you start with that, and within case analysis, what is it? Whole one case. Then after that, you do a cross case analysis. I found certain things in A, B, and C in case A. Can I find the same thing in B, case B, case C, case D? Now, if I find them in case B, case C, and D, it's enhancing my explanation. If I don't find them, that means that there could be another view. That is one way of doing it. Now, the challenges of using case study is the fact that sometimes finding the right case study to be able to do your study is very, very difficult. Because you have to be purposely select the case. So it suits what you want to study. So trying to find a case that can suit what you want to study can be very difficult. For example, a person was trying to do a case study on the impact of banking reforms on corporate governance in a number of 3 banks in the banking industry. Now, after going to the first bank that he wanted to was Bank of Ghana as a central bank. He wanted to take them as his key case study. And the Bank of Ghana told him that you want to study from 1983, but everybody who was there from 1983 around that time who can give you good information is either resigned or is dead. So if you really want to get very good information, start from 1985. So he had a good case study, he had selected a very good organization, but his time period was affecting the purpose of what he wants to do. The time period is not wrong, but the question is that you may not get the relevant people to answer the questions. So you might not be good to start from that. Change your time period. So choosing the appropriate sampling strategy is very, very important. What people can usually do is what they call snowballing. They may go to one firm, like you want to study on, students' experiences with Golf 5, what they can call Golf 5. That means that you need people who are using Golf 5. Is that not true? But how do you don't know them? So when I teach you something, you know, understand what I'm doing. There's something called snowballing. You interview the first person who you know he has Golf 5, or you go to who sells golf. BW class. The body tells you about, okay, we sold one to a gentleman in Beacon Hall. So you come to that gentleman and then you ask the gentleman. Then that gentleman to become the person who can know because he drives Golf 5, he may know the other Golf 5 drivers owners on campus because maybe they share parts, they even share the same mechanic. So he will then start telling you, so you call that snowballing. He starts telling you, when you throw a snowball, as soon as he goes on and picks on another ball, the ball becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Because it's sticky until it becomes. So that's what you're trying to say. Now, as soon as you roll one, you go to the first person, the person tells you the second person, tells you the second person. So you can use snowballing to be able to address the challenge we have concerning identifying the appropriate case. Then, the another challenge that people have is what we call, how many cases are enough? He says that, say, I want to do one case study. But some people are telling me I should do 2 case studies, multiple case studies. But how many is enough for a multiple case study? And that comes to question that there's nothing about what is enough, it's about the research question. If you are trying to do a study on successful companies in Ghana and how they become successful, you are likely to start from where? Ghana Club 100. Is that not true? But even the Ghana Club 100, there are 100 of them. You might not be able to do all. So are you going to do a multiple case study of 100 companies? No, you get tired. And because you need to spend time and then understand how they become successful, it takes time. You have to spend 3 weeks with each firm. So you want to select a number. What number is appropriate? The challenge is you might not be able to know what to do. So what you can then do is that some people can even compare across industries. Ghana Club 100 can compare them across how many industries, because there's the different industries represented in Ghana Club 100. So what you can do is I'll pick one, the leading institution from each industry. So if there are 5 industries that are represented in Ghana Club 100, each industry represents one, get 5 case studies. So that in it you can try to see that in that case your objective becomes how do these firms become successful in their industry? Do the thing that makes you successful in the banking industry the same thing that makes you successful in the let's say insurance industry? Would it be the same thing that will make you successful in the manufacturing industry? Because you are comparing successful companies across industries. And that person will say that even this study to select, I just want to focus on one industry. So you rather go and select the top 3 in a particular industry instead of rather doing across industries. Another company to say, I want to focus on companies that have international operation. It means that they have a partner here and then they have another partner outside. So that I will see and compare to those who are maybe have only local operations. They don't export, they don't do anything with any external person. So it's comparing the type of operation, the nature of operations. We did a study on corporate social responsibility reporting corporate social responsibility using the internet. So to start off, our obvious selection for the cases was that there are 26 banks in Ghana. So we go to the 26 banks, but it's a lot. So how can we do all the 26 banks? So somebody said that one of our research partners who I did a work with said that why don't we select the ones that have received awards for the banking industry as being the leading leader in corporate social responsibility. Because according to the Ghana Banking Awards, there is some category for CSR. So you want to know which of these have won. Would you believe that when you want to check which of these have won, none of them were doing any good reporting on the internet concerning their corporate social responsibility. They were advertising about it in their brochures in the company. And then if you go to the office, the award is there. But they don't write on it on their websites. Some of them even have a very, very good website. At that time, it was 2010. So we realized that differential of using those who are the top from the list is not good enough. Then we said, why don't we compare the nature of ownership of the bank, foreign-owned banks against indigenous Ghanaian banks, and see, by virtue of the fact that a foreign-owned bank, because of its international partnership, will be doing it already in UK by like Barclays and Standard, or like the Zenith Bank, which advertises all over, even on CNN. So because of that, we realized that maybe because of their international operations or their global presence, they will be following global standards and reporting their CSR activities on their website. Then we compare it to the local owned banks who are not doing anything like that. And when we did that, we selected 4 here, 4 here. And it did a very good thing. So you saw that if you can visit the niche approach, we selected from the top list. It didn't help us. So it's not a question of how many is good. It's much more about how you frame what you want to compare. Somebody was doing a study on, in fact me, I was doing my PhD. I wanted to study companies that have used the internet to be able to achieve some benefits in terms of e-commerce. And what I tried to do was to compare firms. I went to the Ghana Club 100, and when I wanted to get approach. This one, I tried my best to get a Ghana Club 100. Only one company in the Ghana Club 100 wrote back to me that they are interested. That was Casablanca. It was around 2006, so you can just imagine. Not many, even the Ghana Club 100 around that time, not many of them had websites. So I had to then step out of, and Fan Milk also said yes. And then I wanted 4 companies. So I selected the other 2 companies from a list which is not the Ghana Club 100. And I looked out for companies. So the first one was to use the Ghana Club 100, I got 2. And the second approach was to use companies which by virtue of their business do something with the internet. Those car companies who sell cars through the internet. Like those our friends who are living abroad and they have got depots here. So they advertise either through your email, they send the pictures to you, then if you like the car, they ship it down to you. One of them had begun that in Ghana. He didn't have a showroom, but he had a website. And I found him through Ghana Web. So I went to Ghana Web looking for those who are advertising their companies then and traced them. I looked at the number of them. There's another company called Yellow Pages Ghana. But by the time I wanted to study them, the company had collapsed. So that's another issue. So when I began to do the study, I selected the 4. In fact, I selected 12 firms, then I narrowed down to 4 by terms of looking at the level of maturity. So I wanted firms that, one, either you have had some success that you can be able to boast about, and 2, you have got some consistency in terms of some time, over time, you have got some maturity in using the internet. Not somebody who just went to the internet today. So each of the companies I chose had used the internet for at least 2 years. At least how can you study success if the person has not been able to illustrate some track record? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Because somebody's success, one-time success can be chance.
Chelsea's.
So you try to do that kind of comparison. Would you believe that when I was ready to go and interview Fan Milk said that because the next year they were doing the 50th anniversary of Ghana, 2007. So 2006 I found them in June. Then October I came to spend 2 weeks with each of the companies that has said that you wanted to be part of the study. You sit down, you observe, you talk to managers. Now, Fan Milk said that next year they are having 50th anniversary, they are planning towards it. And between October to December of every year, you are rounding up the books, you are preparing for next year, having meetings, concerning strategic decisions of next year. They are interested, but if you can come after March, they are interested. They are not that they don't want to give you access, but they are, if you want us to spend time and give you good data, come after March. You have a time-bound PhD. What do you do? What do you do? You let it go and choose another company. So sometimes you can even, your case study, your multiple case study can be influenced by the fact that you don't have access. They are available but not accessible. Then the boundaries of the case. How many people should you interview? We usually advise that for a good case study, make sure that you saturate almost everything within the organization. Continue collecting data until you get to a place where every data you're collecting is nothing new. You already know about it. So you have to get to a saturation point. But to be able to get to a saturation point, you need to interview more people. One person is not enough. In fact, for a company that has employees more than 25, it's advisable to talk to about 25 people across the departments. But a company that is less than 25, maybe 10 is enough. But one thing that you should also understand is the 10 shouldn't come from one department, especially based on what you want to issue, what to study. Make sure that you cut across. Sometimes even a casual worker will tell you something that will surprise you. They are the most of the information. It's true. So what you want to do is to make sure that you cut across the different people in the department, in the firm. Then you may need to also go to, if your issue is about something that happened in the past, employees who have left the organization, find out where they are, and they would have moved on. I remember I was interviewing one company, and they told me that the new manager is now with Star Assurance. So I went to Star Assurance to ask him, interview him upon something that he was about an issue in his previous company. Then sometimes you need to talk to competitors. But one thing that you need to understand is that the questionnaire that you use for the company, that's not the same questionnaire that you use for every person who is outside the company. For some competitors, you just need only one line, just to corroborate or to find out that whatever the person said is consistent or is true, or there's a different view. Maybe a company told you that we are the leading, one company told you that they were the first Ghanaian company to bring CAF in fashion design way. So to be able to check whether the thing was valid, I went to their own competitor, and the competitor told me that one competitor who said he acknowledges the fact that he copied from that company, that he learned from them. And that company told me that he didn't learn it from them. He was buying wooden magazines from Cote d'Ivoire, and he saw it in it, and he also did it himself. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. But then I came back to a company that you said you were the one who brought it first. Where did you learn it from? Oh, I MD lived in Cote d'Ivoire for some years. Now you see where the story is. There are two issues. All of them were elected from an interaction from Cote d'Ivoire. So instead of just saying the company began it, I can say that company who had virtue of their business, one of their managers or their designer living in Cote d'Ivoire, were influenced by their designs to be able to put in caps in our African designs in Ghana. If I studied and listened to only one company, it would have been skewed results. The next one is ethnography. Ethnography tries to do whatever you see in the picture. The objective here is to talk about the culture of the people. Try to do a discussion of how things influence the people from within the culture that they live in. So what are the cultural patterns and perspectives of this group in their natural settings? Ethnography involves exploring the nature of the phenomena and working with unstructured data, analyzing the data and interpreting the meanings attributed by the research respondents. Now, it looks at the patterns of behavior and beliefs and language. And it focuses on the cultural group. There was a gentleman who wanted to do a study on the lifestyles of homosexuals in Zimbabwe. And he was forced to go and live among them. He able to do the story. You cannot talk about lifestyles by starting looking from afar. Because if you really want to talk about their lifestyle, then you have to go and live with them. Then, because it involves everyday experiences of the individual, writing and documenting. So with ethnography, you see that the person come up with photographs, genealogies, maps, documents that depicts the people's society. One of my PhD friends who was came from University of Science and Technology, PNUNST, was doing a research on deforestation policies and the impact of rural communities in Ghana. And he was doing it with a Denmark, Holland-based university. They told him that when he was coming to collect his data, that he should go and stay with the rural communities for 7 months. He changed the topic. Because he was importing cars and selling in Ghana. That was more important. He wanted one that would be quantitative that he comes administer the questionnaire, then goes back to bring in more cars. So So he wanted one that he won't come in. But if you are going to live in a place for 7 months, by the time you come back, your people who have been buying cars for you would have moved on. Is that not true? They'll change the supplier. So he was using his PhD time as a business time. Because that's the time that he got a visa to be traveling to Holland and bringing cars down. And his PhD got a scholarship too. So part of his data collection when he wanted to push it into business. Anyway. So you have to understand that sometimes the topic itself requires you to live with the people so they can document their lifestyles. For example, what is life like in a traditional palace? You cannot answer this question by just visiting the palace once. Do you realize that in the palace, when you go and your case is listened to, and you are found to be innocent, you have to leave there immediately, because while you are standing there, somebody can come in and come and tell you that the way you are wearing your clothes is wrong. It means that you are living telling lies, and they will change them. Anything can happen, and they tell you have to kill a goat. So how will you learn these things if you have not lived with them and stay with them? So one thing about a traditional palace is that you have to stay with them for some time, and that is why ethnography requires you to document and portray the everyday experiences of the individuals within where they live. So the challenge about ethnography is that you should have a grounding in cultural anthropology. If you know what anthropology is, the study of humankind. And you have to be able to tell stories. So if you cannot write storytelling, you cannot do storytelling, and you're not prepared to have extensive, involved prolonged time in the field, then don't choose this area. But certain topics require you to do this type of work. Like I told you, if you really want to understand the impact of deforestation policies on the rural community, you can't just be a questionnaire. An ethnography perspective will help you to be able to build and see, participate in town council meetings, participate in, get to go and sit down with the district assembly officer, assemblyman, experience them, even sit down with the chiefs and experience them, so they can be able to tell a story. Now what else? Grounded theory. Grounded theory builds up from ethnography research, but it's quite different. Here you don't start with anything. All you have is a question in your mind, and you go and collect a lot of data, and you build your theory around the data. So you find the relationships between the concepts you are studying from the data. So it leads a lot of data collection. The objective is to unravel elements of experience and use interrelationships to build a theory, something that can explain social phenomena. So you don't do much. All you have is a question there in your mind. We use a grounded theory. One the topic area I'm trying to research on has not got a very good model previous research that helps you to start the research. So you want to build a theory in that area. Hence, you go into that community, spend time, collect data over time. Look for the categorize the data, look for the patterns within the data, and then use that one to develop a theory. Grounded theory too takes time, because if you are going to do it, you need to do a lot of recorded interview, observation, journaling, like field notes, and then take memos of all the where you are and the data you are collecting. Now, beyond grounded theory, we can have action research, which are used by a lot of business type of students, business school students, especially in the US. Action research is a type of research in which you go to the company that has a problem and sit down with them and define the problem together, decide on the solution, and implement the solution and test the solution that it works. By the time you finish in action research, you have actively enabled the participant to be part of the research. Secondly, you are giving them the solution, so they become empowered. Action researchers usually don't like the other type of approaches because they just collect the data and then they leave the company just like that. They don't solve the problem for the company. So they come with most of the other type of research now we talked about. They collect the data, go and analyze it, and come and give a report to the company. So the company just becomes a report and that's all. But this is here, in the action research, you want to actively participate in the problem solving so that the company becomes empowered about the situation that we have. So the objective is to empower people through the process of constructing their own knowledge and also produce knowledge and action which is directly useful for the community or particular people who are part of the research. Now, if you realize it is a little bit of like applied research, what the bank and the policy developers want to do, try to come in, do the research on the policy, and come back with a better policy or recommendations for changing the policy. So that at the end of the day, something happens. The social phenomenon you're trying to study is changed or is addressed. So you start by diagnosing the research problem, then you go to action planning, determine the action that needs to be taken to address it. Then action taking, conduct and monitor the actions that you have implemented, and then evaluation to see whether the actions have addressed the research question. See whether the actions have addressed the research question. Then you have content analysis. Content analysis sits between both qualitative and quantitative, because the objective here is to analyze text. It just does to see what he's doing. He's looking for categories in the text. So you have got something that somebody has written, and you take different parts of it and analyze it. Look at a view of what it is. Now, after you have been able to find the categories or the summaries of what the person has written, then you quantify it. So, for example, this is a write-up for somebody. If you look at each of the individual paragraphs and you just read them, if you don't take care, you think that the person has a particular view. But by the time you finish reading it, you realize that the person's view is quite different from the view that you set up in the beginning. So in action research, you see that I've highlighted, in quantitative analysis, you see that I've highlighted some key terms. And each of them, I'm going to use it to describe a particular phenomenon. Each of the key terms has what I want to communicate. For example, the terms in the first paragraph, like, as a general rule, I've always scrupulously avoided political discussions. He's trying to say that he's more of an objective person. He doesn't want to jump into all these discussions. Especially kinds showing malicious and unhealthy assaults and insults of people. I have always subscribed to a discussion on ideas on how to manage our affairs, our affairs, and help improve the situation we find ourselves. I will try to keep this principled approach. Now, don't you realize that all the key words there are talking about objectivity? So, how many times do you see them? 3 times. I think somebody can even say, I've always subscribed, he may even underline, so about 4 times. So, the dominant one is that all of them are labels of what? Objectivity. Somebody too can find out whether there are labels of what? Subjectivity there. But there are other discussions there, but the most key thing we see here is what? Objectivity. So we can see that we will tap all of them and count them 4. So objectivity, 4 key word phrases for objectivity. Now let's look at it. Sometimes I throw in some personal reflection. What does it mean? Subjectivity. Only as a sign of blessed humility. To see the issues from a peculiar angle, the better to contribute to this discussion. I have said in these pages before that I consider our president my friend, the law teacher from Legon, a decent man, honorable, level-headed. All these are some emphasis of the objectivity again. Then the subjectivity was the fact that he throws in some personal reflections. But alas, perhaps another guiltless politician. I say this with grief and severe pain. Now you see some subjectivity coming in, some bias coming in terms of his view. So what do we see here? Within here, there is a little bit of subjectivity. There's also the fact that his previous view was an objective view. He's trying to show that he's living from the objective to the subjective. Now let's look at the other part. Our president says now that he has no hand in this affair. That the acknowledged financier of NDC, who has now pocketed a bank, is a better term. All this money, God paid that sum of money, and that is what as a president. He has no hand in. He has nothing to do with it. This is a cruel insult to us Ghanaians by this man. We must hold him to account. Now, what you end up realizing here is that he is now coming with a judgment. So you have to even move beyond subjectivity to even have a conclusion. Now, if you read the whole thing, you end up realizing the other views that he points out there. But what I'm just trying to point out here is, with all the different labels you see, you are going to put the labels there. Then after that, categorize the labels. What are the labels saying? There are labels for objectivity, there's labels for subjectivity, and there's a label for a judgment. So when you finish, you can be able to quantify and tell us which of them is the dominant view here. Do you realize it? Now, so that you can do this kind of analysis for different types of interviews. Like you are trying to study the experiences of taxi drivers in managing their finances. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Not that they tell you they have to do sales, like managing their sales or whatever they do. Now, in this case, you interview one taxi driver, you transcribe and put it down. Another taxi driver, you transcribe and put it down. Then if you look at the keywords that they are using, and they start putting them in categories. So if you see things like, my manager, we had them is he's talking about his his own. Sorry. The owner car owner. No, the car owner is a person, but his own kind of I don't know what the best words to use. But his view concerning his own manager, that's what I should say. That he doesn't like maybe his manager. Some aversion concerning always going to see. Some fear that comes in when there's no going to see. So even the next person will not say my manager will be hard, but will say that my manager, I'm working with it sometime. He doesn't share, he doesn't give. I hope you understand. He's also emphasizing the same thing but in a different way. So you look for the keywords that have, you may look for keywords that are coming out from their words, but you realize that about the keywords, all of them have some similar labels. So by the time you finish, you can compare what is the dominant label in a particular discussion, and then be able to quantify them and then use that as your analysis. For analysis, what is the dominant view in all this discussion we have pointed out? Now, how do you collect qualitative data? Qualitative data, how do you collect it? If you look in chapter 4 of your work, or chapter 11 of this one, you can download from there. From experience. Interview is one. Observation, which may be part of experience, is another. Okay, so let's see. Now, to start off in collecting data, the first thing is that you have to establish your context and population with population data. Then establish your data collection method, and then establish your sample. And these two will deal with data. But we'll do this one later in the population method, but we can talk about data collection method and the context. Now, anybody who is going to start any research would have to define where he's collecting the research in the research work, at the context. The thing that you call field work. So where is your field? Is it an organization or a number of organizations, an industry? Justify why a particular site will be selected, a particular field, a particular industry.
That will be captured in the research.
Yeah, you capture that in your methodology. To justify why. Then, do you know whether you get permission to enter? I told you earlier that they can be available but not accessible. Then what activity are you going to do there? Are you going to spend time there and just administer questionnaires, or are you going to sit there and then observe them? That's why interference. How are you going to interfere with the current operations there? One of the things that you need to know about research is that sometimes you yourself influence the data. For example, you want to look at financial reporting standards, adherence to financial reporting standards in SMEs. You go there first, they give a questionnaire, and they leave a questionnaire, they come back. When you come back next time, they will do a discussion. As soon as you leave your questionnaire, it reads the thing that you're going to check ABC. He goes back and calls the accountant, change our reports to suit the thing so that what this guy can ask questions, so that we look good. So they will cook up interfere with the data you want to collect. And by the time you realize, when you come back, everything looks correct. So sometimes your question, yes, the questionnaire can really influence how the data is collected or the type of data that is given to you.
So,
Yeah.
in this case, if they ask you to do this, you can't say no.
Good. So that is where it comes into us whether you want to distance from the subject or you want to be close to the person. There are two ways you can handle it. You can either make sure your questionnaire that is given, if you want to do interviews, that means that you want to go and sit there and then chat with them. Your questionnaire that you give to them and you leave there, or your write-up in your introduction letter doesn't have too much detail that will let them go start modifying the data. It is good that sometimes when you are interviewing them, then you see the reaction and then their mannerisms. They can really get a feedback. Otherwise, they will modify it. But everybody would like to look good for anybody, especially when you say you're coming from the University of Ghana. You always want to look good to you. Then the other one that you also want to look out for is that sometimes you are doing a quantitative study, so you don't want to even spend time there. So you want to drop your questionnaire, go and come back, and come and just collect it. That one is very difficult to tell whether they will want to have a result, but you should also know. That is why some researchers are very good in quantitative, others are good for qualitative. You see, qualitative allows you to do observation, so that you go there and observe yourself. Look at it, artifact examination. Look at it, open the report, see how they are doing their financial report, so they can have a look at it. Another thing that you should also know is that sometimes, because of what you are going to ask, they may want to give you some information, or they'll cut you off. You're asking too much questions, they cut you off. So what you can do is that you have to be smart. Some questions are they don't ask the company. Ask maybe a former worker, or ask the industry regulator. For example, some financial information about Ghana Club 100 firm, if you go to their firm and ask them directly, they will give it to you. But they give it to Ghana Club 100. So you go to Ghana Club 100 book, look at the 2011 publication, and look at the 2010 publication, then look at the 2012 publication. Then compare. They will put their return on investment, all their data there. So now you use that one. Because sometimes asking them, I'll go to Bank of Ghana and ask them, or Stock Exchange and look at it from there. Asking them directly, they will not give it to you. Because even sometimes what they report outside is different from what is internal. Is that not true? Yeah. So you want to be very careful about how much interference you bring into the data. Then time. How much time will you spend there? Duration. Now another thing that you also realize is duration is that not every time that everybody will give you opportunity to spend 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or 40 minutes, or 3 weeks with them. Some of them will tell you that they will only have 1 day with you. So you ask your questions in 1 day. In that scenario, you just tell them, yes, you come in the one and ask your question. Now the other time, you can even come in as a customer. Don't go to the department that you're going to do the interview. Go to another department, spend time there. So you observe. You can even go there as a person who is looking for a job. Now, what you're trying to do is to see whether the process, especially if you're doing HR practices, and whether you can compare whether the core values of the firm is even adhered to by the organizational members. So you have to experience it yourself. Go there, go through the process and see. I remember in some of the companies I interviewed, I just went there and then asked I wanted to see somebody. And they told me I wait at the reception. And then I used that one to observe people's behavior. Because whenever you tell them that you are coming to do the research, they prepare for you. So sometimes, even before you even send your letter, you can even go there ahead of time and experience and get to know. You may even come to know that some managers are even nicer to prefer you. So those are the people that you like to start with. Then interviews. Interviews is after you have established your field work, where you're going to collect your data. You need to be able to know how to collect data. One of them is interview. Interviews is used to gather information in the subject's own words from which insights and interpretations or their interpretations can be obtained. Now there are different types of interviews. There's unstructured interview, in which you have a topic in your mind, maybe one question in your mind, and you just come and sit there and just ask the person. And as the person is talking to you, then you have impromptu questions that come up, follow-up questions that come up. So you don't have any, you have an outline of things you want to cover, but you don't have all the questions already beforehand. As you are interviewing the person, then some of the things come up. We use unstructured interviews with a lot of qualitative research so that you can have a discussion, allow the person to tell the story. Then you've got partially structured. The topic is chosen, questions are formulated, but the order is up to you. So you want to interview a company, you go there based on the what is happening in the office. You may even start from question 5 instead of question 1. For example, if your data is to look at supplier and the company's relationship with the suppliers, you go there, one supplier has come there already and is chatting with the MD or with the manager you want to interview. The manager says, oh, sit down and whilst I talk to this. So he makes you sit down whilst you're talking to the guy. You start doing observations and start answering questions on the supplier side. So when you finish and the guy asks you, oh, I'm prepared for interview, can you even start on? So one of the gentleman who came in, was he one of your suppliers? Yes. Oh, so how did you come to know? So you have begun from the question 5 or 6, and then you come back later to the question 1. Semi-structured interview, the questions are in order of presentation, or the questions are determined, but there is open-ended. So it's open. The person can answer. There's not like you're giving the person a structure to be able to answer from. It's open-ended. So when you ask the person a question, there's no possible answers or first choice answers you're supposed to choose from. Then you have the structured interview. The structured interview, you stick to the predetermined order. The questions are outlined, but the responses are coded by the interviewer. So, where do you live? The person will say, I live in Kumasi. They write, instead of writing Kumasi, you write Ashanti region. So you are coding it as the person is giving you the answers. So you are not interested in the town, you are interested in the region. But in the totally structured interviews, you have which of these regions do you live in? So you have to select from them. Which of these towns you live in? You have to select from the ones you are provided. Because the answers you are provided are the ones that you are interested in. All the other answers you are not interested in. For example, if you want to interview students who come from Sabakope and then others who come and compare the students who come from Subu. The first question, the person asks you that says that which of these towns do you come from? Suhum or Suakope? If the person says he wants to choose Ada, you are not a good respondent for the question. So we'll put you aside. And that is one of the reasons why quantitative research is quite different. We are very straightforward, fixed choice, and you focus on that. So we use fixed choice questionnaires mainly for quantitative research, and then the open ones for qualitative research.
Yeah, my question is, by rejecting such a respondent, does that mean that you, the interviewer, you did not do a test?
Good. If one wants to teach questionnaire design, there's something called pilot study. A pilot study can help you do a test of your questionnaire to know its applicability. Sometimes some questions are there to know you understand it. Or to also get an idea of the nature of the composition of your sample, so that you know that these are the right people to answer the questions. But you see, with the quantitative study, sometimes you don't know, because you're not being purposive. You may be using random samples, so you stop it. You want to know the views of NDC members concerning their own new vice president. So, NDC, yes, then you ask him. Now, if he says no, then you move away from him. But it's random samples, so you are going around choosing different people. You know, there's also what we call the haphazard sample, which I'll teach you all this in which, or convenience sample, the person just comes out of it, like the TV station, come out of their studio and just catch people on the street and interview them. And after that, you the Ghanaians are saying, how many Ghanaians did you interview? So, it's a good question you ask. You need to test your questionnaire and also know the composition of your sample before you start, so that you don't end up throwing questions at people who cannot answer them. Now, the guidelines for interviews. One thing that you should know is that an interviewer, you are supposed to be patient. You're not supposed to be like the man here. You also do not need to judge the views of the people. Yours is to be a recorder, not a debater. Quite a number of people end up debating instead of recording. And then you should follow up on what participants say and ask when you do understand something. And don't be judgmental. Then also avoid leading questions. Don't try to put the questions in the person's mouth. Or statements in the person's mouth. So because you didn't go here, is it you who went there? No. Allow the person, if you want to ask him categorically, ask the person. Don't try to lead the person into certain answers. Otherwise, you skew the answers to a particular area. Now, beyond interviews, which is individual, you can also have group interviews, which you usually call those one focus group discussion. So usually it's supposed to be a semi-structured group discussion, moderated by the group leader, being you, held in an informal setting, purpose to collect data on the topic. You use focus groups for exploratory studies a lot. Like marketers like to use to get people's views concerning a product. So they put the different consumers, like consumers in Krasako, sit down and talk about your views concerning the road. There are another set of consumers. You are doing maybe a study on people's views concerning agenda on road. So those in the Trasako, you invite them, and those who are living in the parcel, you invite them. You take people who are homogeneous and put them in a group. You don't mix the Trasako people with the parcel people. Because although they are all in East Legon, there are different degrees of East Legon. Otherwise, you have problems. So in the focus group, it's useful for exploratory studies, understanding the gaps between different groups, uncover factors which are related to complex behaviors like alcoholics. Complex behaviors, that is very difficult for you to integrate them one-on-one. Because one-on-one, they may not tell you, but when they see an alcoholic group and you're sitting in the group, they may be more confident in talking. So he doesn't think he's being victimized. That's why he gets confidence in sharing. Why he calls himself an alcoholic. Or whether he doesn't see that one bottle is alcoholism or not. But one thing about a focus group discussion is that you don't use it for an emotionally charged topic. Like the election time, then you go and mix NDC and every people together to talk, discuss with the CI. You end up having, you see why they have been having a lot of commotion in parliament, because you can't have a focus group discussion. It will be emotionally charged. If you don't take care, you the moderator will be beaten up for you. Then, if you want statistical projection, focus group is not good for you. And if confidentiality cannot be assured, because that is one of the reasons why you have to bring people like from a similar or homogeneous background, so that you don't have a problem about sharing. Now, with a focus group discussion, I like to keep mine within 40 to 1 hour, even though they say that you can go to 2 hours. Because when you have a group which is about 8 people, when you're speaking to them over an hour, sometimes you may forget what some of them said. Because you are the moderator, you're also taking the notes. So you want to know that you choose a sizable group, 6 to 8 number of people. And then a focus group cannot be done with only one group. You have to have multiple groups with different homogeneous composition. Are you the moderator included? No, we are talking about the people who responded. So no, you are adding to it to make it 7. Yeah. The size of the group, not you, the size of the group you are going to meet is 6 or 8. But you're the moderator, you're not part of the group. You are just moderating the conversation. And then you also need to make sure that you select people from a homogeneous group. And make sure that you have a number of groups. So if you have 6 groups, you have got 6 individuals in it, you have 36 people you are interviewing. Now, your questions are not supposed to be directive, open for people to be able to share. For example, a person trying to do a study on the changing roles of housewives cannot mix the different groups of housewives here. There are housewives who like just all about conversations. When your husband leaves, they go to the next door neighbor and say, I heard you making noise. And shout, what just happened? So they will ask. There are some housewives who is all about cleanliness in the house. So these 2 people may be put in one group. Then there are housewives who are all about cooking. So today you eat French cuisine, next week tomorrow you come Chinese, tomorrow you eat this. So they give you different people. Why are you looking at her? She's looking at you. Maybe he came to your place and you gave him French cuisine. Anyway, but what I'm trying to say that if you have a housewife from Tasako whose whole life about attitude about life is about concept about life is about interior design, buying plates and bowls and put it in the center on tables and putting artwork, then moving from shop to shop, FC Beauty Clinic and all those places. Then you compare her and put her in the group with somebody who's coming from Choco East. Yeah, the challenge that you have with her, Choco East, she's thinking about her school fees for her child. In front of her house, she's selling milk and some chibong and egg and bread. She works from morning till evening. The morning selling watch, evening selling egg and bread. For her, her whole duty is going to hold her husband who doesn't want to give part of the school fees. And then doing challenge with them and coming back. Then on Thursdays, put your cloth on and go to church service We're praying for the whole day. So her mind is very different from you. Her mind is very, very different from you. And if you put her together and the other woman comes and talking about going to Accra Mall and buying their stuff. Even some of the Kasako men, they don't even buy from Accra Mall. They buy it from England. Some of them do a small shopping. They fly out and then her essay and go and do some shopping, or Kenya do some shopping. So I remember one woman that I knew about that. Her Christmas shopping, even the tin fish and everything, they are all from UK. They have this chop box, the one that you take to school. They fill it. That's the first time I saw chop box in the UK. I was wondering what they were doing there, but apparently that's what she brings there. Then they will fill it with food. And I thought she's going to sell it. Apparently they bring it and they used to do hampers to give to friends who come home. But the husband is a bit noisy. He's taking visitors are coming home. Like if your husband is Mandan shipping a partner, that company. And I don't know whether I've seen their house before, the advert that they show on the company. The house is very, very big. Now if the people are coming home and they come to visit, they have to take some humpers out. So you understand that you cannot mix them in a particular environment like that.
But when you also get there?
When will you also get there? It's just time. Anyway, I was doing some study on the chart of backwards, and I realized that there are some housewives who are paid by the institution that they are. There was one of them that was just church of Barclays, the head, the Africa head, and they were living. They gave them a house in, I think it was Nigeria. They gave them a house in Villaggio. And the wife is on a retainer of about no less than $10,000 that is given to her as expenses, so that the husband can look nice and come to work. But you know that some offices give your street allowance and everything. Yeah.
Even Cosmos, they pay them.
Yeah, Cosmos Energy. Yeah, and then Cyrus Energy. They give them all this. One of them was telling me that the boss changed all his watches. Because they say, come follow me to meetings with this watch. So you check. So you have to understand that you want to work there. Dog allowance. Oh yeah, pet allowance.
I'm sorry, since somebody has been no, but the
no, security, maybe security I understand, but the dog has wow. So these are the places that they carry the dog and give it so you have to show receipts.
The word is not fair.
I really don't know about that. That was a little bit of I think I have to go out. I'm wasting time here. If a dog can have allowance and I don't have allowance, I have to work as my salary. Maybe allowance is so much.
The guy is a country manager, and the dog takes $3,000.
The dog? So is it to create a good ambience for the person who can work well or what?
No, for the money is there.
Security. So they are supposed to be not this our $2
No.
The one. So it's about the dog being healthy.
Yeah. And there's somebody in charge of the dog. If you don't feed the dog, you are fired.
That person is also paid.
Yes.
So the kennel and everything, cleaning it is all good.
Your job is the dog.
Anyway, with focus group discussions, you usually start with a round robin question. A round robin question is usually supposed to use to introduce where we are coming from. So this helps us to be able to establish the background. For example, if you are doing a study on people who are teenagers who are all involved in teenage pregnancy, you have to draw throw out the round robin question. Somebody say I'm 3 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. So if somebody says that he's not even pregnant, that person has to get out of it because of confidentiality. Hence, the round robin question enables everybody to feel that all of us have the problem or are concerned about the issue. I hope you understand me. Remember, most of the times that people call into Joy FM, one of the arguments they give to the MPs and then the and some of the district assembly heads is the fact that they said he doesn't live in the community, so he doesn't know what we are going to. He doesn't use the road. Or he uses his in a 4x4, so he doesn't experience what we go through when we are driving. And it's true, because sometimes a person who doesn't have shared characteristics with the people that are in the focus group cannot be able to appreciate what we are going to discuss. Then you transition and move into the key questions about their behavior, their experiences concerning what they are going to discuss, and their knowledge. Now, experiences are quite different from knowledge. Experiences are what people have gone through themselves. Knowledge can be gained from people telling them. So some of them, you have to differentiate what people are saying out of hearsay. Oh, I know the MP very well. When he comes around, he doesn't give us money. Is it you have experience or people are complaining about it and you are heard? Then you move to the opinions and feelings. Opinions are also different from feelings. A person can have a very bad opinion concerning it, but he still feels like he wants to still be in that particular scenario or party. The opinions will be there, but his feeling is still there. So you need to be able to differentiate opinions and feelings. Then when you end, you need to be able to ask and tell them in conclusion what you think has been discussed, and you share it with them. So you end it and run up, so that people can compare and tell you whether what you said is what you wrote is what they said to you.
But is it important to give them a tip?
To give you a
To give them a tip.
That is a very, even with interviews and the difficult discussion, there's always a subjectivity. In my PhD, I was interviewing one of the heads of Business Ghana. And I remember I wanted to go to the office. The guy said, no, let's meet at British Council, the lunch place. Now when he told me that, I realized that we have to go to British Council, I have to carry my something has to happen. So you should know that some people think that they may be too good. In one of the reasons why it may be good, because out of the office he may feel free to be able to share some things with you. Someone else too, they're looking at the fact that if he's come to spend some time with you, then it should be worth his time. Some companies also think that it's an opportunity for branding the company. So come inside. Come and before you come, this guy came from University of Manchester, he's come to interview and he will introduce you to everybody. The idea is to even clients to show that you're good. I remember when I was going to do an interview in Casa. The day I got there, they told me that they are apparently waiting for me in the conference room. They thought it was video conferencing. So they have got the equipment ready to do video conferencing with Manchester. I said, no, I'm a Ghanaian here. So when we were going to do that, the MD was ready to sit in it. When I showed up, he's busy and we'll see you later. I also said that they didn't want to talk to me, but in fact they gave me a lot of good access, they gave me a lot of information. I talked to almost all the managers, but by the time the MD was, I was ready to talk to the MD, he was out of the country. But the day I got there, if I was doing the thing over the internet, I would have been able to get the MD. It was good, because they talked there. Because my supervisor from the UK also added a cover letter, and when they see the names coming from, like, you know your name, what you are Kenyan. But if they see Richardson or Hicks or something like that, you think that the person is coming from it's a international team. So you want to put the best person forward. I don't know whether you realize it. Some of the companies want to interview them, they'll tell you that either the HR manager or the PR manager or then the head. You can never get the individual managers, especially if your topic is about marketing, you want the marketing officer. You still have to talk to the PR. He looks at the question or the HR manager, looks at the questions that you're going to ask. Think about whether they should allow you and give you access. Sometimes, and even a production manager may be willing to talk to you, but you say that you will not talk to you until the MD has signed off the letter. It's because of the things that you are representing the company, so they don't want you to go and quote them wrongly. And sometimes too, they also want to make sure that you bring back the findings so that they can look at it before you take it out. I remember even in Casapreco, after I finished my interviews and I did observation, when I sent my report, then one of the managers said, oh, even the things that we were just chatting and laughing about, you wrote it. But you should understand what I'm trying to do. Me, I'm doing my research. Everything I observe is data for me. But you see, it was discussions about views that he thought that it was between me and him. What this document I've written is going to the MD. You don't want the MD to know that you are here. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So that it happened. So I had to go back and tailor it down and give one that is good, that everybody is comfortable to the MD. Then the one I will use in my work, which means that to get my degree, I put in everything that is relevant. Because that one will not be good going outside. So even with us researchers, when we are publishing, they let us sign consent from the company we want to interview. Otherwise, they don't want the publisher doesn't want a problem in which the thing is now in the media out there. Then they say that Kasano we deny. So even sometimes you have to change the names, use studio names or hide. You change the company, but some of you cannot. Now, if you read between the product name, like Casablanca, I changed it to Casablanca. Even all their products, I changed it. But when I mention Opemo and Alomo, my students always who have read the case study always know which company I'm talking about. So you will know.
What might a company require from you as a researcher so that you prove to them that you're actually performing that research?
Good. You need an introduction letter from your department and your supervisor. Usually your department will draft it on the department and the supervisor will sign. And you have to have the topic name and then maybe a disclaimer that this is purely for academic research purposes and so that I can hold you with it. Then there's also ethical consideration, ethical forms. If you're going to interview people who are living with HIV/AIDS, for example, there is a type of research that people do on positive teachers who are living with AIDS. Now, positive teachers, you're looking at HR policies concerning positive teachers. Some schools don't have a very good policy concerning them. Even as soon as you declare that you are, they will sack you from the school. So, how would a person who knows that his policy in their school is not good for that, how would he tell you that it's positive? So it's very, very dicey. So you have to have an ethical consideration for in which you feel. To cover the school and cover the university itself, and even cover the respondent that is okay.
Is there any legal, like, for example, if I fake the research, like I'm not even studying in any university, but I want to find out information about my competitors, and I just hire somebody who's like 23-year-old, looks young, yes, he's really like performing this research, and in this case, for example, I could contact somebody in Europe who writes up like a very nice like introduction letter, and it's very unlikely the company will actually go and look for the person who is the supervisor for the project.
What you are saying is very, very true. That is why, especially with a PhD research, and if you are coming from different countries, the responsibility is on the company to do the background. That is why sometimes the PR guy will have to talk to you first. You see, sometimes if a person is lying, some PR people cannot. No. But if sometimes you can even ask to make it easy for you when you go up there. Apart from the letter you have brought, letterhead everybody can generate letterhead.
Don't they show lies themselves?
So what they do is that they like to ask you that, please can you give us your ID card? Now, if you are not a student in the university, you may not be able to have an ID card. For example, in Casablanca, every question I stapled my Manchester gives you as a PhD student a complimentary card. So you staple it. Then I photocopied my ID card as a student and I attach it to the back. So that is as part of it. Then my supervisor also wrote the following student with this ID number. See, it depends on what the student writes. For example, in the University of Ghana right now, when I'm sending my students out, yesterday I was looking at one I signed, the ID number was written, the student's number was written there. So that it gives the company confidence that if there's anything, you can go to the school and go and ask for the ID number, and we give this access to you. If it doesn't exist, then you are the person who didn't check. But some universities share their database to a national database. So all the students, like right now, what is happening, I don't know what they heard about what happened in Manchester Metropolitan University. About the fact that students were there and they were just renewing their visa and living in UK but not going for lectures. And And the university has come under a lot of scrutiny. Because they have renewed a lot of visas for a lot of students. But when the home office just showed up checking for the students, they should be in school. So they had a list of people they have renewed their visas for, to know that, to follow up with lecturers to find out whether they are coming to school. Apparently, most of them are not there.
Selling cars.
Which is true, or they are clean. So at the end of the day, or security job. At the end of the day, what you end up realizing is that they held the school responsible. When you were processing visas for students who have actually left, who are supposed to be graduating or have signed, even though they are not graduating, they have signed up just to extend. And especially with the PhD, they extend it and they will get a PhD offer, but will never show up in the school. They come and pay the part payment so that they can get the ID card. Then they use it to renew their visa 4 years. So 4 years it raises some money after. But see, some of them, because what you are doing is illegal, even the 4 years will be up and you still have nothing. Then you go and register ACCA and another place. So every 4 years you are doing a different course.
Student forever. So for example, you have your private research company, right? Can your client hire you to do a research about their competitor?
Yeah, they do that a lot.
But for example, can they hire you that you go underground and like go into the company? And
It's happening in Ghana. One of my friends who was working in the telecom industry was telling me the fact that there are some employees who are actually being paid by another telecom company, but they are working for this telecom company.
What?
You know, saying that all this is for information. Please, what promotion are you bringing next week? So that we tell them. Competitiveness. It's that fierce.
so Indians.
And some of them have got friends, not only friends. I leave MT and I go to Glow to work for Glow. And by the time I'm working for Glow, I still have allegiance and friends, maybe a girlfriend, for example, in MT. So by all means, the data I'll get it even free. I don't even beg for it.
There's this case of Carmen who's Anna, PRO, whatever. She used to be with Airtel and the husband, and she moved to Vodafone. When she moved to Vodafone, the husband was still in Airtel for some time before Banana Grace went to do. So if there is anything they could
Even this, there's a lot that is even, this is even small. What about HR managers who go home and the laptop that they use in the office, they bring it home and their wives are using it. And the wives can just go through and see the Excel sheet of how many people are paying. Next time they go for company picnic, you see another woman say, hey, your husband is doing well though. Because I see your husband's salary already. I hope you understand me. Yeah, so it's this disclosure of information. It's always there. Yeah.
So, for example, how would you present yourself who hires you to do a research on Vodafone? How would you present yourself?
No, don't represent it. Don't have a
No, I
story
mean
to
like
tell.
when you approach Vodafone, what disguise would you use?
They might go in as a customer. There's what we call mystery shopping. You can go in as a customer and just be high and experience the product. Or you can go in as even as a student. See, you can go in as a student of a university, just as long as he wants to do on it. And go and collect the information. So right now, companies are becoming very strict on who they give access to. Becoming very, very strict on that. But that's why I said that you as a student, if you come into the company, a person can tell if you're not telling. A person who has been in that scenario before can tell. For example, you ask you, where's your ID card? Oh, I left it. You start doing that. Okay, when you break it, then you come back. You just tell you that that's really enough. And then letterhead. And another thing that you also don't realize is that some of the managers are also EMBA students, so they know the names of the lecturers. All they do have to just pick a phone and call. And they do lecture call, this and that. Unless you also want to, you try to fake the name and then the signature.
Now, there is this beggar at Circle. Each time you pass by, he tells you he's a polytechnic student. So, it's a polytechnic student. A slim guy is closer to the back of Ghana Financial Fund. So, I also have some money on a couple of occasions. And the last time he met me and said, and I asked the same story. I asked him I wanted to see his ID card. And he looked at me in the face and left. So each time I pass him by, when he sees me, then he wants to like. So I think when we make demands of the
some kind of authority note or identification, it makes it challenging. Now it's all over. I sent some gentleman to collect data for me on pharmacies in location of pharmaceutical companies and chemical shops in Ghana and Accra. Even the ones in Medina were asking me where's his ID card. Yes. And that's how simple it has become. So what you did is that you got an ID card and then hang it. So you don't even ask. See, when you are confident about it, and even how you dress and how you show up, you can be able to let the person know. So if you want to really steal, then look at all these.
It's confident trick test.
You have to actually know what it is before you jump in. Now beyond that, we have observation. Observation is what we try to observe and then learn from what we are, our subjects. So we are not asking questions, but we observe. We have got participant observer, in which the person asks permission before he comes to do observation. So you ask permission by microphone or a classmate, teacher, sit down behind there, then observe the company, or observe the people who are in the classroom. Then you also have unobtrusive, or non-participant observer. The researcher watches or does not participate in group activities. He just watches but doesn't participate in them. And then the researcher conducts a number of interviews with the researchers and with teachers in the school. He just watches but doesn't participate. Then the naturalistic observer, like the agents, football agents, they come to watch the football game, they say they come and observe you, and after that they won't talk to you. They want to see you on the field playing. This one they may either tell you or not tell you. Now the covert, like what announced us, the covert observer, no permission, nothing. You may even come over this guys, come and sit among us. If he's here, then then the simulation. Simulation has to do with the person who tries to simulate it. Instead of asking the people's views or concern an issue, tell you that, okay, we want to know your perceptions concerning a lecture. So come and stand here and behave like how you think about a lecture. So simulate the thing yourself. Or simulate your MD. Like how you'll be simulating Dr. Andrew. Then you have textual analysis. That has to do the same thing as content analysis, analyzing content and records. Then you have got personal experience, like taking field notes, writing about what happened to you, detailing the experience as you went there, some of the things that happened, the key events that happened, writing them down. The same thing has to do with field notes too. You are going to write down the people, the description of the environment, and keep it up. So that does with the quantitative research, the qualitative research. With the quantitative research approaches, the key one is survey. That is the key one that we all have, that we use. Now with that, you have a questionnaire that we want to use to record answers from a sample. So you may take large and small population by selecting the samples from a desired population. Now one thing that you end up realizing with surveys is the fact that there's cross-sectional surveys and there's longitudinal surveys. And there's time series analysis, which I think Dr. Anna will do with you. Oh, we have already done it. With cross-sectional survey, we come in and then do the we have a questionnaire and we insert it at one point in time and collect all the data. So we don't look at it over time. We come in today, just collect the data and then go. What are the perceptions concerning Dr. Anna's course? Answer it. Knowing that maybe next week if you come again, the views may change. So you observe a collection of people at one time. Then you can have a longitudinal study. A longitudinal study, you can either focus on a particular group of people and keep the same group of people throughout time. Call that one a panel study. So you take a panel, A, 1, 2, 3, and then use those same 1, 2, 3 at different times. You come each time focus on the same group. But with the cohort study, you take a population like a class. Each time you pick a particular group. So you pick these 2 people here, you interview them. Another time you can pick these other 2 by the same class. So the population remains the same, but you are choosing different people within the population at each time that you come. So it's a cohort study. Now you are picking different respondents each time. The aim here is to see if there are changes in their perceptions or trends that occur in the study. Changes in their perception. So you ask different people. Now with the surveys, we have got a number of techniques. The mail survey, which is the cheapest, but it's the one with the lowest response. We send them, sometimes people will put it back and say that we are not interested. We put it back to the self-address and send it back to you. Then we have got web service. Web service is also cheap. And then you do it on the internet. But it sometimes can be skewed with bias. Because a person can answer it about 10 times. So sometimes people try to each computer answers once. But right now that people have got laptops, desktops, tablets and everything, like iPads and all this stuff. You can answer the question on all these platforms. And by the time you finish, you have caused a bias in the data. So what some people try to do is that they ask for your ID. Now, why would you ask for an employee ID if you're going to question the employees about their perception concerning their employee? Nobody will like to put in their employee ID. So what the easiest one to do is to give them random numbers. You can make a card and give a random numbers as ID. So then you can go and enter before you open it up, so that the person, when the number is up, it's up. You can't enter it again. But the challenge with that one too is the fact that if you are going to meet them and give them random numbers, then give them the questionnaires when you meet them, rather than taking them onto the internet. Then about telephone interviews, moderate, call the person and interview the person. But with telephone interviews, people don't like answering more than 10 questions. Even sometimes more than 7 questions, they don't want it. And they don't like it when you have too many sub-questions, sub-answers. Like, what is your view concerning this? Is it A, that you don't like them? B, that you like them? C, that you are neutral? E, that you dislike them? But then the person gets to F, he has forgotten what they said.
And one aspect of the scope is the experience of people's values.
Sorry?
The size of
Yeah, privacy, yes, it's true. Especially when the person, but sometimes people even get their customer service representative, they get your name and everything before. So when they call you, they mention. But what the people don't like is when they start the survey, they ask your name again, then they ask your phone number. Meanwhile, when he called you, he knew the number he called. So people don't like that. The best one is face to face. But it's the most expensive because you have to meet the person, sit down with the person. And it's time consuming. It's time consuming, but it has the highest response rate. But think about it, if you are interviewing 300 households, you have got 300 research assistants. That means everybody has to do 3. But if you have got only 2 research assistants, everybody has to do 150. That is when people start sitting and completing the questionnaire. They won't enter the house, they'll just observe. They'll write it. Or when they go to another house, they'll ask, this other house, how many people do? Then they'll read it to answer it. So that's one saving technique. Now, all these research methods that we have studied today, we will use them in our research methodology to choose how we are going to collect data. So you have been able to understand that. What I'll try to do next is to teach you sampling and then questionnaire design, so that you can be able to get an idea of how to use your sample your data and then do questionnaire design. Then we'll round up with putting the whole thing together to rise and analyze. After you collect the data, to analyze, not analyze quantitative, but analyze qualitative data, and then put the write up together. So we have got about 3 sessions. We'll finish. Thank you very much.
Samsung Galaxy S3. Designed for humans.